Okay, we are ready to move on to the third and final device, the low-resolution device design here inside Photoshop. I think this is going to be really quick, really brief, because we've done this a number of times already, of course. And of course, the next big subject after this is the world of code. So in other words, we get to take everything that we've built inside Illustrator, inside Photoshop, and bring it into the world of HTML and CSS, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I want to try and get through this at a decent pace and then get into the good stuff, the code. All right, so the third device, the low-resolution layout, don't forget, is going to target devices that are running a resolution of 480 pixels in width or less. So as you can see here inside Photoshop, I closed out of the other files that we were just working on, the medium resolution and the high resolution files. If I flip over to Illustrator, I've already opened up the low resolution wireframe here inside Illustrator. So if you're following along, go ahead and open up the same file on your side. Now, we've done this a couple of times already, so this should be old news. I want to get rid of the strokes on the layout objects, on the wireframe objects that we've created here inside Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and select the objects. So that's going to be the header, the navigation bar. We don't have a slideshow, remember, for this layout, so we jump right into the three content boxes. And then the news feed can remain as is, and I'm going to scroll all the way down, hold down Shift, and grab the footer there. Okay, so those are my wireframe objects. I'm going to make sure down at the bottom of the toolbox that my stroke swatch is on top, and then I'll tap my question mark key or my / key on my keyboard to remove the stroke, just like so. Okay? All right, wonderful, good stuff. Now, we want to get this wireframe, if I zoom out just a little bit, this entire wireframe, we want to get him over inside Photoshop. In the previous resolutions, the previous devices, what we did is we opened this guy directly inside Photoshop, and that's perfectly fine. We've done that a number of times. I thought what I would do this time is change it up just a little bit. So check this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control-Command-A on my keyboard to select all. And I'm going to head to my transform dropdown. And what I could do, and I mentioned this not too long ago with the medium resolution, what I could do is I could note the dimensions here. I showed you this trick earlier. So what I could do is I could grab a pencil and a scrap piece of paper and I could write down 480 pixels by 1358 in my case. And then of course what I would do is I'd head over to Photoshop, create a brand new document using the same dimensions and paste this content in. However, I have something really cool that I want to show you that Photoshop's going to do for us. So if you want, you can note these dimensions perhaps mentally or on a scrap piece of paper. That's fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Control-Command-C on my keyboard. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back over to Photoshop and I'll head up to the File menu and I'll choose New. Now check this out. Because we copied content from another application, Photoshop goes, oh, I assume you want to bring that content in at the same dimensions. How do you like that? Isn't that a cool little trick? So Photoshop already knows the dimensions for us, so we don't even really have to note them on a scrap piece of paper or mentally. So there we go. Hopefully this worked for you. So there's the 480 by 1358 in my case, at least. Okay? I'm going to go with a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. RGB for my color mode is just fine. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and paste the wireframe content into my new Photoshop file, Control or Command V. Now, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my content in as pixels. I've been using Smart Objects quite a bit. I'm going to switch over to pixels now, and I'll go ahead and click on OK. And there we go. It drops it right into the dead center of my file, which is perfect. I just hit Enter on my keyboard to lock it in. There we go. Beautiful. Now, a couple of final things before we move on here. Notice inside the Layers panel, I'll zoom in just a little bit on this guy so you can have a bit of a closer look at this guy if you like. Notice inside the Layers panel, I actually have two layers now, so it's a slightly different process from what we've seen earlier. So I have Layer 2, which contains the wireframe, and then I have Layer 1, which doesn't contain anything at all. So what I'll do is I'll click on Layer 1, I'll hit the D key on my keyboard to make sure that my foreground and background colors are set to their defaults. And what I want to do is I want to fill layer 1 with the background color. Do you remember how to do that? We've seen this a couple of times. Control or Command Delete or Control or Command Backspace on your keyboard to fill that guy in. Okay, so there we go. Now we have a solid white background rather than the checkerboard pattern. I'll change the name of layer 1 to, you guessed it, background. There we go. And while we're at it, let's save this guy. Control or Command S. And I'm going to save this into my work files folder. And I'm going to call this low resolution. Beautiful. Great. There we are. Go ahead. Okay, inside the compatibility dialog box. Great. Now, all we need to do is take the objects that appear on the wireframe layer and break them apart across their own layers. It's going to be nice and easy and quick, so let's get to it.